Hello, everybody. It's Sherry at the Rustic South. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Okay, today we're going to be making a 24-inch rustic rabbit. You can find this at the Dollar Tree. They're in the 5 plus section, and to me, it comes out really cute. Now, I laid all this fabric out because I got all these squares at JoAnn's, and they were $1 a piece. So I bought 10 different ones. Of course, I didn't use 10. I only used 2. But just to let you know, it's pretty, inexpensive to go and get a couple of those. It's $2. So this project, I would say, is 7, maybe $8 times you add, a safety pin or two, right? A couple of bells or whatever you want to put on there. And I did put one of our fabric carrots with her because the size of the carrots go really well with her size that I had made in one of my previous videos. But right now you can see that I'm grunging her with the coffee stain that I have, that I make. I also have the recipe in the community tab if you don't have one, but I'm sure you probably have one. So I do it a couple of different times because I really want her dark. I really want her looking, not nasty, but not white. So this is the point when I decide, hey, I need some gloves or I'm going to have my hands all brown because that stuff gets under your fingernails and it just doesn't look very pretty. So put your gloves on before you do this, and let's get started grunging a rabbit. So I grunge everything, even though you're not going to see it all. You're not going to see her underneath. You're not going to see, any of her clothing, what she has on currently. You're not going to see her legs. I do her shoes. I was afraid to soak the shoes too much because, I'm sure the wood that's on the bottom of this rabbit is just pressboard, and if it gets too wet, it's probably just fall apart. So I did not soak those too much. They're already brown anyway. So, if you wanted to make the skirt on this one shorter, if you're going to make it, you can embellish the shoes. It'd be cute to put some little safety pins on there, maybe some little bells, a little ribbon around her ankle or what have you. Glue something maybe around the shoe. You also see me putting cinnamon on her right now because I was trying to help that dark brown color. And what it did, let me tell you, is, it's okay. It added color to her, but then it had this like crusty, sandy feel to it when it dried, so it was kind of odd. I like the color that it added. I did not like the texture that it added. So what you can do is you can either grunge her again, which is what I did. I added more grunge to her after she dried, or you can sand it to get that feel of sand off of her. So you can always do either one of those things. If you want to leave her white, you don't have to grunge her at all, right? But okay, so one thing I have to say about the shape of her body, it's so weird. It's very weird. If I were you, I would make a little slit either in the front there where the two different fabrics meet, or on her backside make a slit and maybe take out some of the stuffing that's in there to make her have more of a contoured shape, and not just kind of like an A-frame look, because it kind of looks funny when you put the skirt on her. It would look a lot better if her waist was more defined, because right now she's just straight and kind of wide. So, that's my tip. If you, this is me grunging her again for the second time, okay? So I would take some of the stuffing out of her, just to make for her waistline to make it more contoured. So that's my 2 cents. So grunge her a couple of times if you're going to do it, because you can see her legs. Her legs look kind of dark, but her shoes don't look dark at all. I don't think I really grunge them too much because you can't see them a whole lot once I put the long skirt on her. Which is the shoes I wasn't concerned with too much. And of course her ears, her arms, and her face, head. But I do like the big stain that happened on her head. I do like that. staining that happened from the first grunging. It turned out I'm outside and there's a mosquito on my porch, of course. I swear I don't know how they get in there. It's a screened-in patio, and somehow they, I don't know, make their way in there. I don't understand it. It's the weirdest thing. But anyway, so yeah. So I think I had her, I may have had her laying flat when I had her drying the first time, and maybe that's what all the coffee uh, settled in the backside of her head. Maybe I should have had her laying on her face so that she would get more staining on her face. But I do think the second time around, I think she does get more of a stained look on her face, which is perfectly fine with me. I love it. Um, so, so yeah, I've been seeing these rabbits similar to this, right? I'm not going to say that they're 24 inches, but so there she is before I do anything to her. Here she is. Oh boy, she's been through a hot mess. But I've been seeing these on Facebook, and they sell for anywhere from $70 to $190. It's great that somebody's selling them for that. But I just thought I would give it a try. I wanted to see. Now, don't get me wrong. I know people are hand making these things, and I think that's awesome. I wish I knew how to do that because I would love to do that. But I wanted to make one that was more economical, if you will. And you see me making the outline here. And we'll get back to that in a minute about the sale stuff on Facebook. But the outline I'm making here is kind of useless, kind of helpful. You don't need to make the legs and stuff like that. You just need the torso and the arm. The armhole needs to be. So this pattern turns out not to be that helpful because I'm not going to make it round like her. I'm going to make it. Here's what I end up with. Okay. So after I cut out that pattern and I got to looking at it, I was like, no, I need this more squared, more rigid, not as, you can see on screen the measurements I'm doing. So you need it more squared, not so rounded and whatever. Okay, so this is the pattern that I came up with that works pretty well with this rabbit. This was a little more difficult than I thought it was going to be since I have never done this before. Now you see on here I have the armpit, from the armpit down to the bottom of the shirt. I think I said it was, 5 3/4 inches or something like that, just so you know how long to make the, from the armpit to the shirt, the bottom of the shirt. The armpit was kind of the tricky part, just simply because I wanted the sleeve to be a little tighter than it originally was. So I ended up re-sewing the sleeve and making the armpit go in further. So yeah, that it took me, I'm not gonna lie, a little time to repin the sleeves. Now here I have, this is the first, this is before I redid the armpit area. So you can see it's very squared off, but her arms are very long, right? So to me, they needed to go up higher. The armpits needed to go up higher. So I ended up turning it back again, and re-sewing the armpits because I made them go up further. So it looked more fitted, right? Still kind of loose, but still a little fitted in the arms, right? If that's making sense. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. I'm not saying this pattern is perfect by no means. This is my second attempt at something like this, and it's kind of tricky, right? I know I've seen a lot of stuff. Well, this is where I re-sewed the pits because you could tell they're a little more. I think this is where I re-sewed the pits. They look like they're a little more structured here and up a little higher. Maybe not. I can't remember. I've played with this rabbit for a few days. I've been trying to get back to making the video, finishing the video, but it took me a little longer than I anticipated to get back to it. But here's the shirt. It turns out cute, but you know what's funny was when I was had it turned inside out here in a second when you see me putting the stitches in the, so here I'm going to put it on her and see how it fits, right? So I'm like, okay, we gotta see the fit. And this is like dressing a baby. It's hilarious because the arms, you know, they don't want to really cooperate that much, and you're like, this is kind of tight, and you know, whatever. It was just funny. See how the armpits are not very far down? So I think I improved that. I can't remember whether this is the improved version or not. And see, it was kind of bunched up there a little too much. So let's see. Well, I guess that was the improved version. So, but you'll see in the end, I did make the armpits um, again higher up, like on the video. I don't think I necessarily tell you how high up the pit goes from the bottom of the sleeve. But if you need that information, let me know, and I'll type it in the comments area or the community tab area or something. But I think what ends up making this shirt work is because now we're going to sew with the embroidery thread along the top. And when you put it on the rabbit, we're going to cinch it tighter, and that one thing will make it have a gather along the top of her neck or around her neck and at the top of the shirt. And that just adds to the cuteness, right? And I opted not to turn this shirt and just leave it on this side because I thought that the creamy color on this side of the fabric turned out, I thought they looked cute together with the dark brown thread and the creaminess of this side of the fabric. But I was like, no, I really like the pattern on the other side, so let's turn it. And I did coffee stain this. I coffee stained this fabric for the shirt and the fabric for the skirt. And I took it outside and let Mother Nature do its thing, and it dried really fast. I'm sure it was probably dry within an hour, but of course I forgot about it and went out there later in the day, and it had blown into the yard and everything. But anyway, right? So just so you know, this has been coffee stained, although you won't really notice it that much on this green because it's already kind of a dark color. So anyway, and this same, and I'm also going to make gathers around the bottom of the sleeve. I felt like that would also help make it look cute around the arms, and it would help it's help the overall look of the shirt, right? So I ended up doing a fast hand stitch around there and just go from the inside seam all the way around back to the inside seam again, and then at the end you will tie them off once you cinch them around the wrist area. You will tie it off and cut that string off right there on the end. Now, what would be cute too, if you guys want to embellish this a little more, is maybe put a little lace around the sewn part of the sleeve there, around the bottom or around the neck. If you wanted to put lace around the neck or something, you could do that. You know, while you're sewing, while you're hand stitching this now, you could throw that on the inside there while you're stitching this, and it would be there when you turn it. And no gluing. I was gonna say we did no gluing on this rabbit, but the only thing we glued was I glued those little buttons on the front of her shirt. Otherwise, we used no glue on this craft today. Okay, so here's the skirt. This is the fabric for the skirt, and I coffee stained, I always want to say tea. I coffee stained this. It's 12 inches long and it's 20 and a quarter inches wide. I just left it the width that it was when I got it. It's one of those fat quarters or whatever from JoAnn. And I just cut it at 12 inches because that's how long I measured from where I wanted it to start with her and where I wanted it to finish at her feet. That was 12 inches. So, and this obviously was not square, so I had to do a little chopping here. But, so yeah. Okay, and I just sewed it in a straight line. Just made a tube, if you will, for the skirt. And, you know, you're done with sewing the skirt. And pinned it just so it doesn't move on me. Okay, and also let me take the time now to thank everybody who's been watching the video. There it's sewn. Who's been watching the videos and commenting and subscribing. I appreciate it so much. It's helping my channel grow by leaps and bounds. I just can't believe it, guys. Thank you so much. It means so much to me that you guys are watching the videos. I just hope you guys are getting you know, in the mood for crafting when you're watching the videos, right? Because that's what I want to do. Is I want you guys to watch and be like, oh, I want to do that. Or, you know, when you go out to the Dollar Tree, it's like, oh yeah, I saw that video that Sherry made and I want to try to make that, right? Or this, I want to make it this way, and just pick something up at the Dollar Tree that you saw me make, right? That's what my ambition is here on this channel, is to, you know, get you guys crafting, right? Because I love doing it, and I'm sure you guys do too, or you wouldn't watch the channel. So that's my whole intention here, and I just spoke through all that. But I put a little brown, a little black around the edges, you know, some spottiness here and there. I took some of that tea dye color from Distress Oxide and put it on there. Because it's kind of pinky. And here I go to the shirt. I'm going to do the same thing. I do grunge up a little bit the edges. I think I even sanded it. Did I show the sanding? I did sand it. The fabric, the shirt, I sanded it some, frayed the edges. I didn't do too much around the neck because you're not really going to see it too much. Once we cinch it, that's a hard word for me, cinch it. But I still put some there. Here we go. Here we're going to sand. I sand it. Yeah, rough up the edges a little bit. Oh, I love that. It looks so good. I did pull that out on one side when I did that, but no big deal. I had doubled it anyway, so one of them came out. That was okay. There was still one there. So it worked out just fine. So, you know, if you do that, not a big deal. As long as you have one in there that you can use for cinching, you'll be good. So again, thank you so much for everybody that has been watching the videos and commenting and sharing and subscribing. It means a whole lot to me. It really means a lot. So thank you. This little shirt turns out so cute. I mean, there are, of course, improvements that could be made, of course, right? But for a first try, I have to say it didn't turn out too bad. At least I hope not. But somebody who knows how to do this kind of stuff will probably zip through this in no time. And I have to say, it didn't take forever. But, you know, since I'm giving you guys the basics of a pattern, then I think it will help you. Okay, so here's where I got it on her, right? I pulled it down over her head, got her arms and the sleeves, and there's where the cinching is going to happen on the side there, right? So here we go. So watch this miraculously turn into a cute shirt on this Grungy Rabbit. so I did not fast forward this part, I don't think, because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm holding on tight to the ends while I'm gathering it across, across the shirt. And this is another thing, using this embroidery thread. It's thick, so you could tug on it pretty good. See in the back there, it gathered up so nicely. And the back side it did so well. I don't know why the front side didn't do as great as the back side did, but eventually we get it there. I had to like shuffle the gathers around, make them equal. But it turned out really cute. It's, when you first see her, it's like, oh my gosh, it's huge, right? The opening that you put her head in is so big, but it has to be because I tried to make it tighter, and then I couldn't get it on her head, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. So I had to cut it back open, right? So this fabric kind of went through a few rejuvenations, if you will. This particular shirt did. So yeah, so the opening at the top may look very wide if you make this, but it has to be in order to go over her head because her head is big and her nose sticks out. And if it's too tight, it's not going to go over. And then what's the purpose, right? You've lost the purpose. So I know it's going to look like it's too big if you make it, but it's not, because you're going to have to cinch it around her neck. And it's perfect because you want that gathered look, right? It just adds the cuteness, okay? So we've got it all gathered on both sides. So I left the tail on both sides, right? The front side and the back side, although it is completely attached to itself, right? It's not two different pieces, but I left the tail on the front and then the tail on the back when I cut it after I got done. So then just either tuck those in or cut them short. I just tuck them in under the shirt. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and here's around the sleeve. Again, it's got two different parts to pull, right? You got where I started and where I ended, right? So I tie them. I think I tie them together. Yeah, I do, instead of separately on the sleeve. I just tie them together. After I get the gathering done, there's not that much gathering to do on the end of the sleeve, but it does have a little gathering. And then just cut off the strings really short, and you don't even see it. That's why when you do the sleeves, gather it from the inside seam and go around, and come back and end on the inside seam of the sleeve. For some reason, this arm doesn't look as gathered. Maybe I didn't adjust the gathering on it. I'm not sure. But I'm pretty sure they're the same size opening. Anyway, I also contemplated folding the sleeve up a little bit. Contemplated putting something else around the sleeve, but I like the look of the threads, right? Being able to see the dark brown thread. I just like that look. I think it adds to the rustic kind of primitive look, old doll kind of feel, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for in this. And she's so big. She's so tall. I can't even see her in this picture. It's so funny. Okay, here's the skirt. So there's the seam. So you want that in the back side, of course, right? Um, so here I'm like, wait a second. I think I need to, um, you know, do the top, right? The needle with the embroidery thread again. And then I think I double it. So we're putting, we're making sewing the embroidery thread around the top. I'm sorry, I'm preoccupied for a second. Um, Around the top so that we can do a little gathering. Although there's not much gathering to do because remember I said her odd shape of her body doesn't give her much of a waistline, right? Um, so I try to squeeze her, which sounds funny, but when I put the skirt on her, I tried to squeeze her waist a little bit so that we could have a little more gathering around the top. Okay, so now remember the seam goes in the back, right? And then when you start to pull that, make sure you pull your um, pull your gathers around to the front, right? Especially when you after you get it pulled tight. See, I have it cinched in right now, like really tight on her waist, just trying to make her look like she has a waist. Um, but this is when I discovered I was like, this rabbit really needs to have some stuffing taken out because she has no waistline, and I want it to have a waistline. But at this point, I was not about to like rip her open and start ripping stuffing out after I was already dressing her. So I left her with her stuffing as she came, but that's my suggestion to you is to make her waistline a little more obvious. Okay. Hopefully you guys can still find them at Dollar Tree. Every time I make one of these, I'm always like, why didn't I buy another one? I want to make another one to make a set, right? Because then now I need a boy. Or I feel like I need a boy, a boy one. I might go back and get another one and try to make a boy. But I don't know, I might be done with sewing for a little while. Um, go back to some paper or wood crafts, but we'll see. I know you guys really like the other Grungy Rabbit that I did. So hopefully you guys really like this one. So there's the carrot. Remember the carrot? If you've seen the other videos, I made the carrot laying there in another video. And so this carrot is a perfect size for this rabbit because she is so tall. She's 24 inches, and I think these carrots are about a foot, 12 inches or so. Maybe a little longer with the top part. Um, and then these are little hearts, some wooden hearts I found at Dollar Tree. You've seen me, I think, use these previously as well. And I'm just coloring them with that tea dye from Distressed Oxide because, again, I said it's kind of pinkish. So it gives a little pink to the front of her shirt, right? So I color those and I let those dry because they are like saturated with ink right now. So you need to definitely wear gloves to do that and just let them sit and dry for I let them dry for a day. So yeah, so I did that, but in the meantime, I tie the carrot to her arm, right? Because I want her. I was going to do something else, have her holding something else, but I decided that these carrots that I made in the previous video worked great for her. So I tie one to her arm, right? And then I also tie a bow around her head, or like a headband, I guess you could say, a headband around her head, which I didn't show you guys, but you might be able to see it at the end. I just took the same fabric I'm tying here, which is a piece of the skirt fabric. I just took it and tied it around her head, tied a knot in it, and put a fluffy safety pin in it. Tied some knots in it. There at the top you can see. And there we're done. She's done. There's her little, I glued the little heart buttons on the front. I did put a little bit of homespun around her waist. There it is, as a little top, like a little belt. And there she is. She turned out so cute. I have her sitting on the floor just like that in my living room. Same way I left her there. She turned out so cute. I hope you guys give this a try. It turned out so adorable. And there she is. That's the exact way it's looking in my house right now. And so I added these pictures here on the end again, just so you guys can get another look at the pattern. So, yeah. So when you see me making the little dash marks on the pattern itself, that is where I'm suggesting where the sew line would be, right? So you need to allow yourself a sew line. So let's just find this pattern gives you that allowance, right? So it's 7 1/4 across the top of the shirt. And it looks like the bottom of the shirt and the top of the shirt are about the same size, right? And then it's 10 1/2 inches from the top to the bottom. And then here you're going to see me putting the dashes, and the dashes are just for a reference of a sew line, right? And you're not going to sew across the opening along the top. You're just going to sew the sleeves shut and the side of the shirt, okay? So there's not much sewing to go on. And if you don't want to sew, you can always glue. You can always use hot glue. You can always use tacky glue, right? So those can be your choices for closing the fabric up. Okay, again, I got the fabric at JoAnn's, and they have all those little, I think, fat squares. Or I can't, no, I'm sorry, I don't know what they're called. Let me look. I have them here. Fabric quarters. They have tons of them, right? And I bought 10 different ones when I was there the last time, which I was just there, the beginning of last week. Oh, actually, so it measures 9 1/2 inches across the bottom. So they look like they were about the same, but they're not. So it's 9 1/2 inches across the bottom, and then 7 1/4 across the opening at the top. And the sleeve opening is 3 and probably a quarter. Yeah, 3 1/4 inch opening for the sleeve. And on the pattern, I don't write what it is from the arm, top of the armpit down to the bottom of the shirt, but I did add that in the video. So if you need to go back and reference that, you can. Actually, I think I can stick that in before I load this video up. So, all right. So I hope you guys make this. If you do, please, please, please show a picture, will you? I would love to see the pattern that you guys put together. That's probably why I bought more fabric squares, because I'll probably end up doing something. But anyway, so thank you so much for watching. I so much appreciate you guys watching the videos, and please give it a try. It was fun to make. It was a little time consuming, Just simply because I was making the pattern from scratch. You guys don't necessarily have to make the pattern from scratch because I'm giving you at least basics here. And don't be scared of it, okay? Don't be scared to do this. Give it a try because you'll be surprised at yourself sometimes what you can actually accomplish when you put your mind to it, right? Like I'm not a pattern maker, but I went for it. I mean, it's not gorgeous or anything. I'm not selling it or anything like that, but um, it turned out perfectly fine for my grungy rustic style that I have. So give it a try, guys, okay? And I'll see you on the next one. Thank you.